Hi, I'm Sandy Brown, Mayor of the town of Orangeville, and welcome to Talk 519 on Rogers Television. We're going to discuss issues that matter to the town of Orangeville and Dufferin County. Tonight, my guest is Deputy Mayor Andy Macintosh. Andy, welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to check in with you and report on what council has done and what we're working on. So let's get right to it. So in June, this marks 200 days in office for us.
Wow,
and,
it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it's flying by very quickly. And it's been 100 days since we did our last Talk 519 check-in. So in that update, we talked about the budget being passed, we'd solved the pull and well discussion, and we had requested the OPP costing. So busy start to council. But let's take a step back and talk about this new council. So it's been a learning curve for all of us. What's your process in finding out about issues that come before council? Like, what do you?
Well, there's many different ways. I rely a lot on social media, probably more so than I should. I like to get the feel of the people sort of thing. And I talk to a lot of people and stuff and get feedback from people. Yeah. And generally, people seem to be happy with the way things are progressing with this new council. Right. We're getting things done, which is what has been sorely missed for a while. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a consensus on council that we do want to collaborate. We want to make common sense decisions, and I'm really delighted with the depth of experience on this council. You know, people were worried during the election campaign and after we were elected that none of us had any council experience, but we have real world experience, and you spent many years as a municipal employee and as a manager of a department in the town, and obviously in an important position in an emergency management and fire and rescue role. So it really your depth of experience is important, and you've lived in this town, what, 50 years?
50 odd years,
50
yes.
years,
yeah,
so
50 plus.
So I've been here 28 years, so you've seen this town grow, exponentially in your lifetime here, and I know, I just feel that there's great things yet to come for Orangeville, and I think we're all working with that goal in mind. That when I was working, I'm going to go back about 15 years ago, the company I was working for, we became a vendor to Toyota. And I remember at the time, and I'm sure they do it today, anytime Toyota brings on a new vendor, you have to go through a Kaizen training program. And Kaizen is a Japanese word, I guess, meaning continuous improvement. And I really remember that training and the fact that Toyota forced everybody to take that, and I kind of, it stuck with me, and I really hope that we just continue to improve the town, and everybody on council, I think, is behind us on that.
Yeah, and I do find this council a joy to work with. We don't always agree. I've been at council probably 30 years. I've been attending council meetings, and I've seen some councils where you know what the vote's going to be beforehand. This council, you don't. Everyone has their own ideas, and we don't for lack of a better word, decide which way we're going to vote. It depends on the facts. And I find this council, each and every person on council seems to be that way. I've lost votes 6-1. That's fine. I don't complain about it. I don't go on Facebook and say, oh, I voted for it. It's just, we just get along, and it's by getting along, I don't mean we collaborate and vote as a group, but a lot of our votes are unanimous, which is, it's a pleasure and pleasant to see.
And I think, I know, watching, as you say, watching past councils, there seemed to be some chips on shoulders that were carried, and I don't know all the personal details of the personalities, but in my mind, council makes a decision, we move forward accepting that decision, right? And if it's a 4-3 vote, so be it. And we move on to the next item with a clear conscience. And
I think that's why we're getting so much done. Because I've seen previous councils, they'd argue about the same item and they'd bring it back and argue it again. Whoever lost the vote we want to redo it all over again, and that's just not the way to progress. And I think, you know, we got our budget done almost in record time,
Yep.
the lowest budget in years,
Yes.
and I think it was because we cooperated and,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
And I think you know, I'm enjoying working with town staff. I think typically the agenda packages that come to us are very complete. I know that all of us, all members of council, we had a couple of meetings before we were actually sworn in. We talked about, you know, being on time for meetings, just doing things that
Professional.
professional in a
Yeah.
business, like, and also coming to meetings prepared, which means agenda packages come out to us, you know, late in the week before our meetings. We have the weekend to digest it and ask questions of town staff when we don't understand something. And I think for the most part, everybody's coming to the meetings, understanding the issues at hand, not wasting time.
Yeah.
And I think you see that in the speed of which our meetings are going.
And
I
you
mean,
touched on something there too, like if a package comes out and we have a question,
Yeah.
we don't save it and wait till council. We'll go to staff ahead of time and say, what exactly does this mean?
Right.
You know, and that speeds things up too.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting for council and sitting on it, saying, I'm going to ask this question now, I'm going to try to stump staff.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just not the way to do things.
Yeah. So, you know, the business of council and what we tackle during these council meetings is interesting. It's difficult sometimes, but some of the more fun things that we do are attending events and anniversaries, connecting to the community and stuff. What are some of the events that have kind of stuck out for you in the past few months that we've been involved?
I always like McHappy Day.
Right.
Just something about being at McDonald's around lunchtime that just, it excites me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I even did that when I was fire chief and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm used to doing these events. I love blues and jazz. I thought I thought this was the best year ever.
Yes,
And
it
when I
was.
can't find a parking spot at 5 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people there. So,
Yeah.
you know, that would have to be the highlight so far as the blues and jazz.
Yeah, I think this this past weekend was remarkable because Sunday was busy, and I kind of tie things to my connection to the Lions Club and the Lions Club food booth, and they ran out of potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
No,
early, and they
Spiral Spuds was across from them, so they could.
but we buy our potatoes, I think, from Downey's.
Okay.
You know, one of the local
Yeah.
potato producers in Dufferin County, and you know, we buy volume and a lot of it. I forget how many pounds, thousands and thousands of pounds, and
Yeah.
we got through them, I think, Saturday afternoon. So
Wow.
we had to go to Metro and buy another
Yeah.
you know, carload of
Yeah.
them.
No, it was a
And,
busy weekend, and the rain
yeah.
held off, so it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
perfect.
and the music. You know, I don't know. Did you attend the kickoff at Mill Creek Pub where they announced
Yes.
the different?
Yes, I was there.
I mean, when I listened to Larry Kurtz talk about the musicians this year and the showcases that they went to in Ottawa and I think in Memphis, and the quality of the music this year was remarkable.
It was first class. It was good.
This is a first-class blues and jazz festival. I think it's a world-class one for that matter, and it's very good for our town. And I'd like to see more of this kind of community activity and festivals that go
Absolutely.
on. We're in the midst at this moment of a big run by our NBA team,
Yes.
the Toronto Raptors. Exciting times. Last Sunday night we had a Jurassic Park Orangeville event where we put a video screen up at the end of Mill Street and had several hundred people come and watch. It was a great event. There was lots of families there. It was chilly, but I think we need to do more of this. We need
Yes,
to
we do.
pull our
Yeah.
community together and
And there's people out there willing to help us, like as far as sponsorship and stuff. They just need people like us or like this council to take the lead.
Yeah.
This time it was Grant Peters that really pushed for this, and,
Yeah.
and good on him. It was something that was needed.
Absolutely, and you know, following on Grant's initiative to get this started, some of the business community have stepped up and very generously donated money to help defray the costs, which is always great. So we're
Absolutely.
very thankful for many local businesses. The other thing, a couple of other things that we have here is our summer farmers market, and I know
Yes.
you're a frequent
Yes.
flyer with respect to the farmers market,
Yeah.
and I think it's another great weekly event that happens in the summer that
Absolutely.
draws tourists from
Yes.
not only
All
the
over.
local area but from Toronto. We need to I think promote more of our downtown, and some of the long range plans that we've talked about is a continued revitalization of downtown and cooperation with local tourism authorities, the BIA, the county tourism folks, to try and promote downtown Orangeville as a destination for GTA and Southern Ontario day trippers. And
Yeah, a place they want to come visit.
Yeah.
And like you say, the farmers market. Every time if I'm in town on Saturday mornings, I will be at the farmers market. It's great to get out and meet people. I don't buy a lot of stuff, to be honest with you, but I enjoy meeting people out there, and
Yeah.
people I haven't seen for years. I'll see them at the market.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess one of the other things that is of interest to us is our OPP discussion that's going on.
Yes.
And so we're going to be delving into that a little deeper when we come back from our break. But what's your impression early on about what's going on with OPP and the chronology of the process, I guess?
I think we're going about it the right way, especially hiring a consultant.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised so many people have taken a stance already.
Yeah.
It's a bit like holding an election when you don't know who's running,
Right.
because we've got no prices back. We haven't heard a consultant's report. So how do we know what's best?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the last go around, people had declared their decision before all the facts were laid out, and I think that's problematic. And I think we're going to certainly look forward to reviewing everything in this upcoming few months. But I've had a chance to talk with councillors, and I think we're not afraid of the challenge. I think we're looking forward to doing the best we can to evaluate both options and make sure that the choice is the right one for the long term.
And isn't that what we're here for? Like when people ask me, you favor OPP or OPS, I say, I will do what's best for the people of this town, because that's who elected me to do a job.
Yeah. We're going to take a break right now,
Okay.
but we'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome back to Talk 519. Joining me is Deputy Mayor Andy Macintosh. Today we're looking at council issues, what's happened in the past 200 days of our council session here, and also what projects are going to be coming up in front of council in the coming months. One of the things that was presented to us recently was the Bike and Trail Master Plan. And I know I haven't, it's pretty in depth, and I've kind of gone through it all, but I think maybe this weekend I'll delve into it a little deeper. But what are your first impressions about it, and what do you think about, biking and recreational, active transport, I think they call it, and other recreational things around these bike and trail?
I think this master plan is great. The bike plan, I've looked at it, again, not in depth because it's so big. A lot of work went into it, a lot of work. I've attended at least two of the sessions that they've held for the public, and the way they take input from the public, I think, is great. They listen to people, and I'm all for it. Again, there's a cost involved, so we just have to be careful there. But I think, recreation-wise, it's a great thing, and it's getting more popular. I even went out and brought a bike a couple of years ago. It's just something people are doing now.
Yeah. one of the sessions I went to was the one that was at Lord Dufferin, and remember the two gentlemen that are the consultants that were working on it. They were extracting information from the group there, but they were also presenting some ideas from other municipalities. And one of them I remembered was Carmel, Indiana. And one of the ideas was they had a movie night in their downtown core. The town bought 100 camp chairs. I think they said they were $15 each or something like that. So, and they had a bike corral. So families would ride their bikes into the downtown core, exchange their bike in a secure bike corral for a camp chair, and then watch a movie in the evening. And then at the end of the movie, bring your chair back, you get your bike back. And it sounds like a great,
innovative.
Yeah,
It's very innovative.
So we need to look, I think, at other municipalities and cherry pick the best ideas and the best programs. I like cycling personally. I do it. I think having dedicated bike and walking trails is a great thing. We need to incorporate that in any development going forward. We have to kind of guide our developers that are putting new subdivisions in and things to make sure that this is all included. And I personally like dedicated bike lanes on the roadway, because I feel, as much as the sharrows are a great thing to kind of, talk about sharing the roadways with bicycles, I'm personally in favor of maybe having dedicated bike lanes because I feel cycling myself, feel more protected when there's a white line there and I'm there. The cars know where.
I know previous councils don't get a lot of kudos, but I know they were very involved in paths and bike trails, and there are quite a few in town if you look for them. And they did a good job on that. So we need to continue that.
So one of the other issues that came up during the election campaign, and it's kind of been hanging out there for a few years now, is the railway. And it's, to this point, it's cost the town of Orangeville almost $10 million, continuing to cost us in the range of $400,000 to $500,000 a year. It's providing a service to 4 businesses in town now, and my feeling is that the cost is too much, and we have to find ways to resolve that. I don't know, what are your thoughts about, generally speaking,
Well,
the
it's
rail
interesting.
line?
When I campaigned, people would say, how are you going to save money? How are you going to save money? And I mentioned the railroad. Nobody knew we had a rail. We own a train. We own a train, and it's, well, not the train, but the tracks. We own it all the way down to Streetsville. People have no idea. And it's costing us, like you said, $500,000 a year. We need to find that money, or things have to change. It's just an expense that we can't continue to absorb.
And it is, as you know, Andy, we went through a budget back in early part of 2019. We found out that a 1% tax levy equals about $350,000. So that $450 roughly that we're paying to prop up the rail line is about 1.3% of our tax levy. And to put that in context, last budget, the increase was 0.82. So if we didn't have that railway expense, we actually could have offered a tax savings.
Yes, something you don't hear much.
No. So, again, it's difficult because we're concerned about jobs. We're concerned that we want to support businesses, but I think in logistics and transportation in North America, you've got large rail hub to large rail hub, and truck transportation from there. And these small spur lines that have become no longer viable financially have been turned into rail trails.
And there's a reason places like CN have gotten out of this. There's no money in it. And Orangeville comes along and, we're losing. We're losing big time, and something needs to happen.
So, you and I both are concerned about the fact that Orangeville is one of the highest taxed towns in Ontario, and that onion has a lot of layers to it.
Yes.
And $10 million in losses on the rail line is one of those layers of the onion. And
Absolutely.
we can, how we can try and reverse that, stop it, and maybe realize some benefit out of that rail line as a recreational trail is something that we're going to be exploring in the coming
Absolutely, yes.
in the coming months.
Yeah. We've got a lot of things on our plate,
Yeah.
and that's just one of them.
And some of these recreational trails, and I just bought a book actually. It was from an organization called Rails to Trails Conservancy. It's an American organization, but these people help municipalities and jurisdictions transition rail to trail. And the book I got was the best ones in America.
Right.
And it's very interesting to see.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful what they're doing with some of these. And there's an economic spin to these because there's a tourism
Absolutely.
side of it. And I just wanted to share, late February, I was in Toronto at the Bike Ontario conference, and a gentleman from Germany was there to present. He was the chair of cycling tourism in Germany, and he gave a presentation. And they do 10% of their tourism dollars in cycling. 800,000 people a year come to Germany to cycle
Yes.
every year.
Yes.
And it really, they've evolved quite a bit past us because cycling in Europe has been around for decades and decades. And so there are some good spins that we can put on a conversion of that. And
Yeah. I actually know people that have done that. They've gone to Germany for a biking holiday, and that's what they do. They bike everywhere.
And the interesting thing about in Germany, what he explained was you've got, just like here, we've got jurisdictions and counties, states, whatever they call them, and they're all self-governing to some extent. But what they've all agreed is that the cycling experience should be the same. So the surfaces, the signage, as you go from town to jurisdiction, is the same, so that the cycle tourist gets a similar experience all the way through. And if we get into that with this rail line, you're going to be going from Orangeville to Brampton to Mississauga to in through Caledon.
Yes.
And I think I've already reached out to both the mayor of Caledon and the mayor of Brampton, and I think there's some collaboration there. The Credit Valley Conservation's also interested in this project.
And plus,
as
we're
well.
saving $500,000 a year
Right.
of the taxpayers' money,
That's
which
right.
I think is important to a lot of people.
And we will bring tourists from Toronto. It turns out that, you can get on the GO train at Union Station, living in downtown Toronto with your bike, and come up to Brampton. This rail line is 200 meters to the west of the Brampton GO station, and if it became a rail trail, then people can come up through Inglewood and Alton and Forks of the Credit and into
Absolutely.
Orangeville, and it'd be a nice day trip. They might even come and stay overnight. So anyway, it's things that we're talking about and working on. Going forward, the next budget, we've got a budget coming up in the fall. What are some of the things that you would like to see happen in coming, moving forward?
I've always said I don't think a budget should go over the cost of living, whatever that may be.
Right.
I don't know what the cost of living is going to be by the time my budget comes out. I'm not necessarily tied to that. I would love to see it lower than the cost of living. Right now, unless you're going to cut something, it's going to be up to the cost of living because the price of gas has gone up, everything's gone up. So unless you're going to cut something, you're stuck at the cost of living. I've never understood places that we've brought in, not us personally, in the past councils, they have like a 5% increase. I just don't understand that. We're living way beyond our means. I would like to see it below the cost of living, much like it was this last council. I think cost of living was 2.2, 2.8, and we brought in, like you say, a 0.82. And that's progressive thinking, that's cooperation with our council, and that's what's doing it.
The white, or the elephant in the room here is the provincial government, and
Yes.
We're experiencing now cutbacks and downloading of expenses to us.
Correct.
So I guess that's our the wild card that we don't know how,
Yes.
and we're trying to grasp that. I've reached out to town staff to ask what are the total amount of grants that we receive. And it'd be nice to know that, because that's the worst case scenario. If the province says, hey, you guys are on your own, we're not giving you anything, we'd like to know that. We need to try and plan for
Yeah.
some of these potential cuts, right?
I think it's so much up in the air. It's really tough to do because we have no idea what they're up to. I don't know if they know sometimes. Like, they wait till a Friday afternoon and announce something and then take it back on the Monday. It's just, to me, it's very confusing right now.
Yeah.
And it's a confusing time. So, we just have to stay the course, I think, and do the best we can.
I have to give some kudos to the Ford government because they've announced certain things, cutbacks, and then there's been an avalanche of pushback, and they've listened to municipalities and have reverse field on some of these cutbacks. So I think there needs to be more collaboration. I know the large urban municipalities and the small urban municipalities both are simpatico in the sense that asking the Ford government to collaborate more with us before you make these decisions, get some more information from us, and hopefully they'll do that.
I remember a quick story going back years ago when the NDP government first got elected. There's a fire college in Gravenhurst that trains basically all the volunteer firefighters in Ontario. Very well attended. And I remember at the time the NDP come in and said, close it. They didn't even know we had a fire college.
Okay. Andy, we're going to have to wrap it up right now. It's been great spending time with you, and always want to hear your feedback on everything. We've got all of our counselors are available through email. If any of you listeners want to reach out, we're able to reach our counselors and ask any questions. But thank you, Andy, for joining us.
No problem. Pleasure.
Very proud to be working with you and our group of counselors. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.